Chapter 4 just got a brand new teaser hiding some massive reveals, including secrets suggesting a famous monster might be returning, a brand new release date for something huge super soon, a bunch of new ARG clues, and much more. So over the past couple months, as I'm sure you know, the Poppy developers have dropped a couple Chapter 4 teasers disguised as recap videos for Chapters 1 and 2, both containing small ARG secrets that when solving have spelled out the riddle: on felted feet and with bated breath, sleep draws ever near, over paths turning clear, but I am not afraid of death, spelling some kind of a secret message about something Chapter 4 related that was still missing a line or two to make it complete. That is until today, as the final recap video for Chapter 3 just dropped and it contains a ton of information. First, over on Twitter, they captioned the new video saying, "Down we go, deeper into the bowels of this mystery. Playcare is like a dream for the children, but even sweet dreams can become everlasting nightmares. Whatever could happen next, I wonder." Obviously hinting this is the last recap video before we can finally expect some real Chapter 4 teasers, which we got some updates on later in this video, so stick around. But when watching the recap, it starts off pretty normal, with employee Harley Sawyer recapping our journey through Playcare. From first meeting Catnap, calling Ollie, who he interestingly describes as infuriating.
This is where they encountered a most infuriating ally.
I don't know if this has any lore implications or is just a joke, because many people find Ollie's voice to be annoying, but interesting nonetheless. Especially since there's been a ton of debate about whether Ollie is on our side or is actually just using us like Poppy to try to sneak us deeper in the factory. But if Harley is seemingly infuriated by his presence, maybe this suggests Ollie is actually a good character trying to help us, who he obviously wouldn't like. However, going back to the tape, there's some more recapping that doesn't tell us much, where we relive our fight with Catnap and rewatch the Hour of Joy. But most importantly, at the end, after we enter the lift, Harley states this:
Which brings us to now.
Down they come like lambs to the slaughter.
Ending the recap video and giving us a bunch of interesting clues. For one, we could see the tape zoom out into this weird screen control panel type room, suggesting this was the room Harley, or at least the voice of Harley, since it's commonly theorized the person talking to us in these tapes is actually the prototype mimicking his voice, was watching us from the whole time, even referring to us as lambs to the slaughter, a saying representing our naivety going into the factory deeper, not realizing our true danger, suggesting there is something Harley / the prototype is trying to hide from us. But then, what could that something be? Well, they seem to hint at it on the TV screen, as you might have noticed that while the screen pans out, there are a couple glitches which seem to hide a few different codes. One longer one here, and a second shorter one a little bit later, both of which appear to be some kind of encrypted binary codes mixed into ones and zeros that hide a secret message. Now, binary numbers can be used to hide all sorts of things, from text, sounds, and even images. But for our case, when decrypting the shorter message here using the 8-bit method involving splitting the phrase into binaries of 8 and finding the according symbol in the binary alphabet, the first set being a 2, for example, and so on, we get the phrase 25 by 25, clearly giving us some kind of dimensions of a picture, telling us the larger set of numbers is a binary image, which when simply converting using a binary to image converter and setting the size to an aspect ratio of 25 by 25, it gives us an image that might seem very familiar to you, a QR code, which when scanning with your phone gives us some text written backwards that reads, "For we have already met." And going back to our old riddle from the beginning here, this fits perfectly at the bottom, giving us our final full phrase: "On felted feet and with bated breath, sleep draws ever near, over paths turning clear, but I am not afraid of death, for we have already met." And this new part of the phrase phrase tells us a lot more about what is being talked about here and can be interpreted in a few ways, giving me a couple interesting theories. Theory 1 is that this could be talking about the prototype. Since, as we've already mentioned, it's heavily speculated that the Harley speaking to us in all of these recap videos is actually just the prototype stealing his voice, because we learned in chapter 3 that he has the ability to mimic voices. So maybe this phrase could be talking about the narrator himself, Harley, who's watching us nervously make our journey throughout the factory, and who we've unknowingly already met as he's the prototype in disguise. Or in past theories, we've discussed how the on felted feet and with bated breath part could be actually talking about Huggy Wuggy, who literally has felted feet and would be injured and struggling to breathe after falling down the multiple floors in chapter 1, possibly hinting he could be the face we already met and the one being talked about in this riddle. Or for my third theory, it's possible that when this riddle says, "But I am not afraid of death, for we have already met," they might not be talking about already meeting us, the player in the factory, but rather they could be talking about how they are not afraid of death because they have already met death. This would make perfect sense, because if the mystery person being discussed in this riddle is the chapter 4 main villain and one of the bigger body experiments, we know they had to have once been a human who either died or was selected to be an experiment and was revived again as an immortal toy, explaining why they would no longer be afraid of death, as they've already met with it when becoming a toy out of their will, possibly hinting to us that the next character is going to be super aggressive and won't be afraid of death like all of the other toys. However, I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments down below and which of these theories you think is correct. But going back to the recap video, as I'm sure you've already noticed, we also see on the computer screen at the end that it says the next outbound transmission will occur on September 30th, giving us some kind of a release date. And while we don't know exactly what this date is going to be for, judged from the fact that it's set to take place right before October, it's more than likely going to be the start of the full chapter 4 ARG, since the ARGs for the past 2 years both took place in October and November, as I've discussed in previous videos. And also the words outbound transmission make it sound like there's going to be some kind of files or data transmitted for us to discover, again like what we've seen in the past ARGs. But what I'm hoping for is that when this day finally comes around, we're going to end up getting something like a teaser trailer that will hide some new secrets for us to find, or maybe we will get a new website that will update itself periodically, like what they did for chapters 2 and 3 with the security cameras and the computer databases. But either way, something huge is happening with chapter 4, and we can finally start to learn more about the upcoming characters and the upcoming game, because honestly, outside of this little riddle which took us months to solve, we really don't have any clues as to what could be in the game outside of pure speculation. And plus, now that we know when the ARG will likely start, this gives us a rough timeline for when the chapter can release, judged from chapter 3, which released 3 or so months after its ARG started, and that was after a delay from December 2023 to January 2024. And the devs have already confirmed to us we will have a release date for the title before the end of the year, so I'm expecting this game to drop within the first couple months of 2025 at the absolute latest, meaning the game is probably closer to dropping than I would have ever expected. But let me know when you think it will release, and check out this video about Project Playtime's downfall while we wait.